Hey guys, what's up? I hope you're having a great day today. And I'm excited to come on here and talk about something called an ant mill today. And this thing has been following me around. I think it is such an amazing example of what humans do. And so I'm going to talk about this thing called an ant mill and what happens in this thing and how humans also do this in their lives. And so an ant mill is a group of army ants. And basically, when they are traveling somewhere, they're following the person in front of them, the ant in front of them. And as they're doing this, they're releasing pheromones. So this is how they know, where they're going. And they're picking up that pheromone and they're following that pheromone, they're releasing that pheromone. And so this keeps them in this kind of natural order. But sometimes that order can kind of get messed up. And a lot of times it's by like an environmental trigger. And when this happens, some ant in the group splits off or gets lost and separated from the group. And when that happens, it doesn't know where to go. And other ants are also following it. And what ends up happening is they start going in a circle. And so you'll see these huge groups of ants, and they're just traveling in a circle. And they do this until they become exhausted and die. And so it's the craziest thing. It's a basic example of instinctive failure. And it's like, as the ants are doing this, their instincts, everything inside of them tells them that if they stop, they will die. If I stop, I'll lose the group, I'll die. I won't have enough. I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do that. But the reality is that if they continue, they will die. And they do. And so if any of them had the choice to step away from that thing, to go a different way or to reconnect with the group or even to go it alone, I think that they would have much better chances than walking until they die of exhaustion. And so I think that this can tell us, how helpless living creatures can be. I mean, these ants are being controlled by the outside on the inside. Inside of them, they know with everything inside of them that they should be doing what they're doing right now. And in the end, it hurts them. And I think that that's such an amazing thing to look at, how helpless the situation became for them. And when it comes to humans, we can do things just like this. I know we all want to think that we have so much choice, but we are just as helpless as these ants. And the way that it works for us isn't necessarily by pheromone, but it is by energy. It is from giving and receiving energy to each other. And we can get in these situations where we are just blindly following, and there's all kinds of quotes about this, the blind leading the blind. Parents talk to their kids about following their friends as they jump off a cliff or jump off a bridge. I love the Jesus one where he's like, they know not what they do. Like, this is why they're going to spiral until they reach points of exhaustion that are so debilitating that they die. They know not what they do. And so we get lost in this. This is why we can really start to get lost in culture, the other, what we've been told, what we've been taught. And what happens is that we can't get past those things. And so I've got some questions to help us get past those things and to discover, like, am I in a spiral? Am I going anywhere? Am I making the right choices for me? And so number one, am I eating? Am I sleeping? Am I taking care of my health? Am I meeting my needs? And that last one's a big one. It's like, where we've been for so long, it has been very natural and easy to meet each other's needs. And we're seeing it everywhere in marriages right now. Couples are struggling to do that. They are struggling to even communicate at all. And so we have to learn how to begin to meet our own needs. And that can be a scary, funny thing. It's like looking at something like marriage. We have always operated in a bargain. And that bargain is basically, it's basic human stuff. It's like, okay, we need money, we need security so that we can have food and we can eat. And we are sexual beings, we need to have sex. We need to be emotionally connected and have some type of attachment to each other. And so we have these bargains and we're like, you need to meet my emotional needs and I can meet your sexual needs. You meet my financial needs and I'll meet your organizational needs, And so we've always had this thing where, like, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And so going back to the ants, why do these groups of ants get separated? Why do they start doing death spiral thing? It's an environmental factor. And what I think is happening right now is that we are going through a shift. We are meeting our own environmental factors that are causing us to create these situations where we aren't getting our needs met. We aren't meeting our own needs. You know, we are getting lost and we're not sleeping and we're exhausted, and we can be harmful to ourselves. And so it's so interesting. It's like as we get lost in these details and following the rules, we just kind of completely lose who we are. And we are lost in the energy. You know, it's like looking at the other and maybe even blaming the other for the situations that you find yourself in. It's like as we get lost in this energy, what we feel on the inside is really coming from the outside. You know, we're giving and receiving. And so we can get stuck in these relationships in these places that aren't good for us. We can get stuck listening to things and doing activities and tasks that aren't necessarily good for us. You know, we can get lost in the whole self-sacrifice. You know, maybe you've got like an empath and you've got like a narcissist type person. Like these are the words that everybody loves to use. They both do things for each other, and that's why they are together. You know, and I think that we're seeing so much of that right now because, you know, not that either one of these is wrong. They're both a side of a coin. But what we need to do is look at that dynamic and realize that they both need to learn how to meet their own needs and to support each other in starting to do that. And if we can do that, I think that we can make it through this without so much, you know, sickness, exhaustion, blame, shame, all of these things that are going to make it harder for us to meet the changes that we're going through right now. And so really humans start to get lost in the spirals when they have lost their authority, their inner authority, or their personal connection to God, to life. You know, this thing inside of you that knows what is right and wrong for you. That thing inside of you that can say yes or no, depending on what is happening now. You know, and you can ask yourself that question. Do I struggle to say no? Do I struggle to say yes? Can I do both? You know, when I say no, am I saying no for me? Or am I saying no because someone doesn't want me to be doing what I'm going to be doing? You know, like how many decisions do you make in your life that are really about someone else? And so these are all really interesting places to go as we look at our decision making and meeting our own needs and where we are and where we want to be and all of these different things. And so as we get lost in the energy, we're getting lost in words. We're getting lost in details, should, could, would be's, you should be this way, I should be this way, trying to change each other, you know, trying to be what you're not. And really it's like culture is what we decide that we are over time. And what we really are humans in bodies, you know, and I think that at these shift points, the culture can start hurting the bodies. That is the escape route to leaving the spiral. If you have enough, you know, authority within yourself to recognize that something's hurting you and to leave, or to put that thing down, or to make a new decision, then you are above ant level, right? Like you are making choices and you have the ability to walk away. And it's like a lot of people will stay in these harmful situations, but we can look at the ants. You know, we can look at what happens when we're just blindly following and we don't have the ability to stop and choose ourselves and to make our body important, or to make our rest, our food, the things that we need to do to survive, you know, important. And it's like, you know, you can get to the place where you can make it so simple because it's like, my body doesn't like this or that. My body doesn't want to be here. You know, my body wants to go to sleep. My body wants to do its hair like this. And that's it. You know, it's like we've got so many people in these culture clashes. Like they're coming into other cultures and trying to say, you can't do this because you're not in the culture and you can't do this. And I'm like, anybody can do any of those things, you know? And it's like, it's creativity. It's beautiful and wonderful. And we can see how culture controls us based on how we try to control each other with it. you know? And so we can come out from under all of these ways that we should, could, would be, and we can start to just do what feels right in the moment. You know, we can start to make choices from our body and to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and our families. Even if it doesn't look right to the PTA or whatever organization, your job, you know, your hobby, your network marketing company, you know, all of these different places that can condition you away from yourself and into behaviors that aren't necessarily right for you. And so it's funny, you know, to even be able to stand up to culture and be like, I will do my hair like this or not wear that, or, you know, put on a more comfortable thing. Like, the army ants could never. You know, the army ants could never be like, oh, spiraling until death is uncomfortable and I'm going to stop now. You know, but it's like humans would also never. So it's like if you are wearing that uncomfortable thing every day because culture says that you have to, like humans would never. But I'm here to give you permission to begin doing that and to say, no, like my body doesn't like that. And my body doesn't like to be awake right now, and my body likes that kind of food, and it's okay for you to do whatever you want to do, you know, but I have the authority to make my own choices because, you know, I'm worthy of being here and living this life. And so that's what separates us. We have a window to exit the spiral behavior and to help ourselves. And so I think something that's so important, we just have to understand that we aren't our mind. You know, if we could picture the ant with a mind, then that mind inside that ant is like threatening the ant. And it's like, if you stop, you're gonna die. Like that mind in that ant is so afraid. It absolutely knows that if it stops, it's gonna, you know, not be okay. And so we have to understand that our minds can do that too. Our mind can choose what looks right over what's actually right. And it's up to us to know, like, I'm not my mind. Like, my mind might think that I should eat a car tire, and I don't have to do that. My mind might think that I need to call my mom right now, and I don't have to do that. You know, it's like to find a decision maker that cannot think infinite possibilities. You know, to find a decision maker that isn't just going to confuse you even more. Something that's under the word, something that's more solid, something that's physical, you know, something like your body. And we can know, you know, if we're not our mind, then reality is uncertainty. We cling to certainty so that we can feel secure. You know, we cling to certainty to do the things that we think that we need to do. And in the end, that certainty is what can really shatter when the environmental trigger takes you away from the group, right? And so we have to be open-minded, and we have to be able to allow our mind instead of be controlled by it. And when you are no longer controlled by your mind, you also won't be controlled by anybody else's. It's an amazing thing. You know, everybody starts the personal development journey feeling like they're so controlled by everyone. But like I said, at the end of the day, when you aren't controlled by your own mind, you'll no longer be controlled by others' minds. And so that's a really crazy thing to think about. And something else too, I really believe that as we change, our systems will continue to fail. Like, we are going to see it politically, you know, with insurance, public education, health, the FDA. Like, we're already seeing so many things just fall through. We're seeing so many things with insurance alone. You know, things aren't covered, and I've paid this much, and what do you mean you're not going to cover that hip, and what if this hip shattered? Like, it's so complicated for everyone in their own different ways. As we come out of these bargains and we change, you know, as the themes change and we begin to meet our own needs, and we'll begin to change our own systems, you know, as the process continues. And so out of all of this, most important things, finding your personal right and wrong, the ability to say yes and no, regardless of the rules or what anybody else around you thinks about your personal yes and no. And then also the ability to live in uncertainty. You know, if those ants had the ability to be uncertain, they could be like, I don't know if this is right. And they could stop. But because they don't have that ability, they are going to do it until they die. And so being uncertain is truly a superpower, especially in an age with so much information, so much conditioning, so many people telling you what to think and believe. It's like live in that uncertainty and let it be like a North Star for you. And you can also find your inner authority. You can make decisions from a place that isn't your mind and come out of the ways that you're controlled by your own, come out of the ways that you're controlled by others. And if you would like to do that, I offer human design initiations. I can help you find your inner decision maker and begin to work with it over time. I also offer personal sessions, which is basically like a talk therapy alternative. I don't do any diagnosing, no labeling, no medication, nothing like this. It's basically me allowing you, hearing you, believing the things that you say, figuring out where you are, maybe looking at where you want to go, and just being there with you as you make your journey, and as you discover yourself and dive deeper into your own life. And so if either of those sound good to you, hit me up. I'd love to talk about them. And I hope you guys have a good night. I will be back soon. Bye, guys.